Hi, everybody. It is Jane Rachel, and today I'm interviewing Anna Geiger, who is a sophomore at Northeastern University. And lucky for me, she is also helping on the overcomingtogether.com website. At around 15, I think, she was diagnosed with POTS, which we've already discussed on this website. And she's also dealing with some other autoimmune illnesses. But despite all of those illnesses, she is flourishing in college. She's double majoring in psychology and international business, and she's involved in a host of extracurricular activities as well as helping me. Anna, did I get all of that correct?
Yes, you did 100%.
That's great. And I'm so glad that you are helping me with this website. You've already had so many great ideas so that we can get the word out to other people that they're not alone. And there are a lot of us dealing with chronic illness. So I do want to focus a lot of this interview on how you manage chronic illness in college. But first, let's just get a little bit of your story. I think you told me that you were pretty healthy until the age of 15. Is that true? And what happened around then?
Yeah, so I was extremely healthy. I didn't really have any, major, ailments or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, one day, I just became super sick. I had, it started out kind of like dizziness, vertigo, slight fever. And at that time, I was under a lot of stress from school. So I think that was a really big trigger for it. And it never got better. I started seeing like my pediatrician at first, and then I went to a neurologist, and they started running all the tests, seeing if it was possibly like a brain cyst or cancer. When
Mhm.
nothing came up, it just kind of plateaued in terms of progress for finding a diagnosis. And my condition got progressively worse for about 11 months, I'd say, until that November. I got sick in January of 2017.
Wow, so that ruined like almost a whole year of high school, right?
Yeah, it was from about half of my sophomore year to about my junior year, I'd say. And then even during my junior year, it was a bit challenging as I was still in the process of recovering and getting better. So it was definitely a process, but I learned a lot during it too.
I can imagine like that. It must have been you're dealing with all of the symptoms, but not knowing what was going on. Just that had to be terrifying.
Absolutely. And like doctors saying, oh, they didn't straight up say it, but they basically implied it's all in your head. Like it's just, all made up, just stress. Like none of this is really real. And, a lot of it, I couldn't even advocate for myself because I was so sick. So a lot of it was like my mom or my parents trying to be like, no, like she's actually not well. Like she needs help.
I keep in these interviews, like the same thing keeps happening over and over, and it makes me angry every single time. Like, here you are, 15 years old. Why would you be making it up?
Right,
Right? And
exactly.
it's just so frustrating. And I would imagine your parents were frustrated too, right?
Oh,
Or
yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. They were so frustrated, and we went to so many different institutions. Like, we went to Cleveland Clinic, which we did find some answers there. I was diagnosed with POTS in June or July, but not really the root of the problem. And I think that's like the biggest thing. Went to Mayo Clinic, kind of the same experience there, and it really wasn't until we found like a local doctor that we really got to the root of the problem and started, kind of building blocks, like starting to get the main issue, and then work from there.
and what was so just with people we've already discussed POTS a little bit on the website, but since people might have not seen that interview, just can you tell me a little bit about what POTS is?
Yes. So POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And basically, it's a disorder of the autonomic nervous system, which controls a lot of things like temperature, heart rate, etc. So a lot of times, what happens is when you stand up, your brain basically tells your heart to speed up because gravity naturally pulls blood downwards. So when you stand up, blood pools, but your heart speeds up and the vessels in your legs contract, and it basically brings back the blood up. But sometimes for me, it's more difficult. For some reason, it doesn't regulate properly. So the vessels don't always tighten, and it depends on the day. It's different for everybody. For me, if I don't get enough fluid, if I don't get enough sleep, etc., like it definitely can make it worse.
That sounds like a lot for a 15-year-old. Like, how did you manage school during that period?
Honestly, like a lot of it was because I had great teachers and the school was so accommodating, but not everyone's that lucky. Like a lot of people, they have to deal with teachers that might not always understand, or the administration, and I've heard stories like that too, but a lot of it was I kind of said, you know what, I can't take 5 or 6, I mean, at that time, probably 6 or 7 classes. So I was like, okay, I need to focus on my well-being. So I dropped some classes. I took like the bare minimum, just like my goal was to graduate on time with all of my peers. And I did that. And I was so proud of that. Like just walking across the stage after I fully recovered. It was so exciting.
Amazing. So let's talk about the good stuff. So the recovery, like how did you get better in that year, or even figure out more what was going on?
Yeah, so basically what happened is I finally met my doctor and we ran a full blood panel and she said, okay, the main issue is that I had a mycoplasma infection. And at that point, she's like, okay, my immune system was it wasn't active at all. So she didn't know if it was like Lyme disease, but she's like, okay, we're going to treat it like it's either a Lyme disease or mycoplasma infection because both act very similar. And we'll go from there. So I started a very, very strict routine. I got at the first couple months, I think I got IVs like 2 or 3 times a week. I was on a strict rotation diet, which was very hard to adjust to. Like I cheated on it so much at first because I was like, oh, but I don't want to give up this food.
And you're in high school, right?
Right.
You want to like have fun with your friends and eat what they're eating.
Exactly. And it's difficult because I didn't have any dietary restrictions before I got sick. And now, now I do. So it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but I also was on an oxygen machine. I did an oxygen machine 2 hours a day, every day, which was a bit of an adjustment. And I had to like do probiotics. I took a lot of supplements. I was on antibiotics too, to like balance out, make sure my liver stayed pretty healthy. I did so much stuff. I think I was doing a sauna a lot to like get rid of toxins because I can't really get rid of toxins that well by myself. So that was just some of that. And, as it progressed, I started doing like gamma globulin injections. I did blood light therapy where basically like some of my blood was taken out, run through a special light and then put back inside of me. I got allergy shots. I did a lot of allergy testing. And now I don't have IVs anymore, unless I feel like I need like a maintenance IV, I guess. And I get LDI, LDA every like 2 months or so just to make sure it's low dose immunotherapy. And what it does basically is so I get it for a couple different things. One is for food sensitivities and allergies. So I just get it basically in my arm. My doctor will test me, see like how my body reacts to certain substances or like, candida, for instance, and she'll adjust the amount to give to me basically to help build immunity. And yeah, I mean, that's basically what I've been doing recently.
Well, I'm so glad. So it sounds like by the end of high school, you were a lot better.
Oh, definitely, definitely. All of the big symptoms that really inhibited me from doing a lot of the stuff that I like to do were gone. So like the vertigo, the dizziness, all of that was pretty much gone.
I've just had a day or two of vertigo and I did not like it at all. It like feels like you're on a ship or something and it's awful. So I'm so sorry you had to go through that, especially at 15. But now, does that mean you're in college now? Can you be like any typical college student, or do you sound like you still have to do things to maintain your health?
Honestly, like a lot of the stuff I do is more preventative because over the past few years, I've definitely gotten to know my body really, really well. So when I know that something could be harmful or trigger something, like I won't participate. Like, for instance, I mean, in the sense of food, I have a dairy intolerance and a gluten allergy. So I won't even eat. I'll be like, no, I don't want to eat that. I'll stay away from it. If it's a really intense activity, I'll have to really consider the pros and cons, like, maybe, prior to COVID, doing something with my friends, like what are the costs and benefits? Am I going to be super tired tomorrow? Like I need to make sure I get enough sleep. Planning when I want to go grocery shopping so I don't have to wait in lines for a long time because with POTS, like I don't want to stand outside of Trader Joe's for like 25 minutes in a line.
Me neither. I'm never standing in line ever again, ever since I got my illness. And there's ways to avoid them too if you go at the right time.
Right.
But, I do want to focus a little bit about trying to manage this like on college campus. So you mentioned food issues with gluten, which I have as well, and dairy. So did you eat in the school cafeteria, or how does that work?
It's actually interesting you mentioned that. So I got an accommodation through my school to basically take me off the meal plan, and I don't even think I have to pay for it anymore. So I don't really use the dining halls, and instead there's a Whole Foods that's a couple minute walk away. So I usually go there and get all my food. I also got a kitchen accommodation, so I was guaranteed to have a kitchen for on-campus housing, which is pretty nice.
And
Mm.
so let's talk a little bit about accommodate. Did you need your doctor to write a letter? How did that work? How do you?
Yeah, so for accommodations, what I would do is first there's the Disability Resource Center at my school. So they got me connected with a specific person, I guess. So there's like one assigned person to you. And what you do is you kind of let them know, you're like, hey, I want to do this. Like, I kind of want an accommodation for this. Like, what should I do? And usually it's the same answer. It's like, okay, just like get a note from your doctor. And what you do is you turn in the note, and there's kind of a whole approval process that you have to go through. So if you want to turn something in, you should get it in probably a couple months before you really need to utilize it. So for me, I last semester I turned in all my stuff probably around March or April, so that by the time housing was selected around, I want to say July, they had it kind of all set in stone.
Because I'm thinking, I actually now have a lot of friends whose kids are applying to college to go next year. And if they have either food allergies or chronic conditions, the parents are worried.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you tell parents or students out there who have these issues as they're thinking about going to college? How can we make the experience a little less scary?
Honestly, I think connecting with your DRC, the DRC at your school, whatever it might be called, I think connecting with them right away is super crucial because you can establish a relationship with your, depending what they call it, a counselor, the person in charge of all your paperwork, and just making sure you get it on time. So whether you need housing accommodations, like if you have severe allergies, I would see if you can get out of the meal plan. See if you can get a kitchen accommodation. If you're immunocompromised like I am, see if you can get a single room accommodation. That's what I did. If you need testing accommodations, definitely get those extended test time, etc. I have friends who have that too, and it's super beneficial. I mean, if I know that even with COVID testing, I believe my school has like special accommodations if you can't necessarily wait in a line. So definitely check that out. I don't know. It depends on the school for testing, but if you're like me and you don't want to wait in a super long line, it's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Were you worried or were your parents worried before you went to college about how you were going to manage all of this?
Honestly, I feel like that we were more excited than anything else because a few years ago, I wouldn't have even imagined that I would be here at this point.
Oh,
So like we were like, yeah, we're just excited. I was so excited. I still am excited, like honestly, every time. Every time. Right now I'm home, but I'm already excited to go back in a week. So it never gets old.
because I guess when you were at Vertigo, like, could you even get up out of bed? Or
I spent so much time sleeping. I could barely walk in a straight line. So what I would do in high school is I would leave classes 5 minutes early and I would always walk with a friend. I never did pass out, but just in case something happened, they would like walk me to my next class just in
wow,
case. So I wouldn't have to like walk in the hallway with all the people and all the colors because I also had like intense color and light sensitivity too. So like seeing all that stuff, like it was a lot, just a lot, overwhelming.
wow. And not that I wish these type of bad experiences on anyone, but I will say they make you appreciate, right? Like you're so happy now and so like
Yeah.
thriving in college. And I feel like, I mean, in my life too, like some of the little stuff that bothers other people, I'm just like my arms work, my legs work. I don't care about the other stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Like I always tell my friends, I'm like, I always try to take the stairs now. Like if it's an option, if I'm able to, because sometimes I'm tired, I don't want to take the stairs. But if it's there, I'm like, I'm taking the stairs because I couldn't a couple years ago. Like it was difficult for me. So now I can do that. And like just little stuff like that.
Wow, that is so amazing.
Yeah, and I like sharing it with my friends too. I'm like, yeah, like I love appreciating this little stuff. And I think, I don't know, I try and like spread the positivity. I
But
try to.
do they get it? Like the people who haven't experienced this, I'm curious, even like in high school, like how were your friends supportive or
Definitely. I think a lot of my close friends were very supportive. I think there was a shadow of doubt among people on my outer circle because there was like a thing of, well, you can't see it, so like is she really telling the truth kind of thing. Obviously I can't really remember much other than like more the sensations just because my memory is so hazy. I do remember like an instance or two where like someone would approach me and they would basically like kind of interrogate me, I feel like, about what was happening, which obviously did not make me feel good because I was already facing that from doctors. So to have like peers kind of, questioning
yeah.
my like health integrity was a little bit, frustrating, but I didn't really think about it that much when I was sick because I couldn't, like, I just didn't have the energy to.
And now
So.
your friends get it. They're supportive of
Oh yeah, the friends who were supportive in high school are still supportive now. The people like I mentioned, I didn't honestly know super well. So, it's really just my friends that the ones who were supportive that their opinion matters. So
and you said that you need to watch your fluid intake, you need to watch your sleep, you need to watch what you eat. Is that very difficult to do while trying to manage the social life and college? And how do you keep that all on track?
yeah, it can be kind of difficult at times, just in the sense of like, going to eat somewhere with friends or doing something like that. Most times when I'm cooking by myself, it's not a big deal because I know what I like. I know what I like to eat. But a lot of my friends are super understanding and accommodating. Like we'll go to places that have options. Most places honestly do, I feel like, have gluten-free options now and dairy-free options. So I mean that's great because even a couple of years ago it was a lot more difficult to, get food from places. Like there's a lot of, vegan places that are coming out, even around like my local area here. So it's really nice just to see um, a broadening kind of
Yeah. So
palette for
I
everybody.
have celiac disease, and now gluten free is kind of in style, but 15 years ago, waiters would look at me like I was crazy. Now it's pretty easy. And I would even imagine if you wanted to do the dining halls, that they probably these days have food labels and gluten free options and all of that.
Yeah, I think I've been there. I feel like I've eaten in the dining hall a couple times, and they are pretty accommodating when it comes to dietary restrictions. There's just not a lot of choices. So I would rather spend money on my own stuff that I like because there are a lot of options there, but not for me necessarily because there's just so many restrictions that it's like, okay,
Might as well just cook
I,
it.
I'll, I'll just go to like another
So
grocery store.
what do you do about sleep? Because college students don't sleep. And
Oof. So I try to get 8 hours no matter what. Like that's definitely a huge staple. So what I'll do is I like getting up early too, so I always have to kind of back that into my schedule. So what I like to do is go to sleep around like 10 and wake up around 7, give or take a couple hours, just because I like getting a start on my day. And also my classes are super early, so I like having a little bit of buffer time to like get used to
that's
being
not a typical college student schedule, but I'm glad that you could do that because I wasn't getting up at 7 in college. Yeah, that
it's
wasn't.
not the sometimes it's not the easiest thing, but you know what? It's just like
Yeah.
it yeah.
What about parties and all that? Can you go out or do you have to be careful?
Yeah, honestly, like I so obviously pre-COVID, especially when I was overseas, there was just a lot of clubs, obviously, and everyone's of age, of course, over there. So, but I obviously can't consume any substances. I have a lot of sensitivities too, so that didn't really inhibit me from having fun though. And like I said before, my friends they don't care. They're super relaxed when it comes to it. So I mean, it didn't really affect anything except for my energy levels. So I'd be one of the first to leave, obviously, before everybody else, because I'm so tired. Like I can't stay up till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And but I mean, it's still fun. Like I, I just don't have energy levels to like stay up all night.
And I think the key is just being okay with that. I mean, I'm kind of old at this point, but when I was in college, I felt like I had to stay out as late as everybody else, and I forced myself to do it, and I was miserable. So I think it's really learning to say okay. And I've discussed with Lauren, who's the previous intern for this website, who also has POTS. She talked about like being able to say like, no, I'm tired now, or no, I can't take 4 classes this semester, and being okay with that. And I think that's a big part about it. It's just is being kind to yourself, right?
Exactly, exactly.
And knowing.
Just like being able to say, yeah, being able to say no. So like if I feel like I'm super stressed out, I immediately have to take a step back and be like, okay, I need my well-being to be a priority, and just to if I have to drop a class, like I will. That's why I'm taking 5 years, because it's like it's super relaxed. It's on my own terms. I don't have to worry about I mean, not like I would care about what anyone else thinks in that case, but like it's nice just not having the pressure of being able to rush everything. So
Exactly.
I
And you know what, that
appreciate
pressure doesn't help anyone and it's not necessary. I think we
that.
talked a little bit about
Exactly.
that before. Now, COVID has added a whole new twist to all of this. So, you've got college and chronic illness, and now we added COVID to it. Has that changed? I mean, COVID has changed the world and life for everybody, particularly college students who are now not partying and all of that stuff. But do you think there's an added stress having chronic illness and COVID?
Yeah, I think that like I definitely have to be a little more cautious than most people my age. I have a condition. It's hypogammaglobuline anemia, which is extremely long, but it basically means that my body doesn't produce enough gamma globulins. The reason's unknown. We don't really know why, where it came from, but basically it also means that my immune system's compromised. I do take a lot of like supplements and stuff to like obviously give some layer to it, but it definitely brings an element of kind of unpredictability and like kind of just caution, definitely extra caution. Like I don't obviously like my friends are all very socially distant, safe, social, all of that, but there's still situations where it's like maybe I don't feel comfortable doing it even if it's legal and safe. Like I'm like, okay, you know what, I don't feel comfortable. Like I have to say no, and that's fine. Like I have no regrets. I just got to step back and just do what makes me feel more comfortable and the best for me.
Because you're at higher risk. Did you get all three of those diagnoses at once? The POTS, the two things I can't even say. The POTS at least has a very long name, but it's got a short acronym for POTS.
Yeah.
But it's got, and then
Yeah.
you've got two big name sounding things that I can't even say. Did all of those happen when you were 15?
So I got the POTS diagnosis, I would say honestly right around my 15th to 16th birthday. So that would be, I got sick in January of 2017. So at that time I was 15. And then just after I turned 16, I got a POTS diagnosis from Cleveland Clinic. And then I actually did not get my hypogammaglobuline anemia diagnosis until I think honestly earlier this year or late last year. Like it was definitely much more recent because I asked my doctor, I was like, do you have like a term for what's kind of going on? And she just told me, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I just started doing some research on it.
What are your main symptoms today? So you don't have the vertigo anymore, or sometimes you do, or
Honestly, a lot of my like a lot of my stuff right now, my symptoms are very mild. I really don't have any dizziness, and my POTS are very occasional. So right now I'm doing great. It's just, occasionally I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, my POTS is acting up a little bit today. I gotta really take it slow. Like I really have to drink fluids, and it's really the POTS that affects me the most. The other condition, which I won't say again because it's so long, affects me in a more long-term way because I just have to be very preventative when it comes to that. And same thing with POTS in a way, but I feel the more physical stuff. Like sometimes I'll stand up and I'll, feel the blood pooling, and I'll be like, okay, like let's slow down a little bit. But definitely the dizziness I don't get anymore. It's been good lately. So
and your POTS is getting more attention because sadly it is, I think, after effect of COVID for some people, right? Because COVID can cause
yes,
POTS. Is that true?
yes, that's true. There's an article, Johns Hopkins, that does bring it up that if you are if you've been diagnosed with POTS before, it does temporarily worsen your symptoms. But if you did not have POTS before, there is a chance if you had mild to severe case of COVID that you could develop symptoms. And obviously, I'm not a doctor. Definitely, this won't happen to everybody, but there is a chance. So obviously, this increase in cases and symptoms is definitely starting to get more attention, and probably will continue to.
So for you, COVID, the biggest thing is you don't want to get it. So as far as, because same thing, my doctor told me, I'm getting much, much better, but I have myasthenia gravis, and he said, you getting COVID, it's bad for anyone, but it'd be particularly bad for you. So it's a heightened sense of fear. But anything other than that, like some people have talked about, being on the screen all day is not good, or the isolation, or the gym's not being open. Is COVID affected your health in any other way, or it's just you're afraid of getting?
Honestly, like this, especially at the end of the semester, the screens started to become a big issue for me, especially when I was just in my room so much working on like those final papers. I definitely saw myself starting to get headaches and all of that fun stuff. So I definitely had to start taking some more naps. I try for physical fitness. When I'm home, I can just use a machine downstairs. But when I'm at school, I try to get outside as much as I can, like take a walk, do a YouTube exercise video, anything to get my blood moving. That's a big thing for me. I try to exercise every day, even if it's just for a little bit, because it makes me feel so much better. It definitely helps my POTS.
Right.
Keeps it at bay.
So in our last few minutes, just advice for anybody, like any high school student, anyone going through this now who's worried about getting a diagnosis or how to manage college or their parents. or afraid that they might not be able to handle college because of chronic illness. Just any advice or words of inspiration or anything?
Yeah, definitely. I say take it all at your own pace. Focus your well-being, whether it's both physical and mental, is an absolute priority. If you need to drop a class, drop a class. If you need to sleep in, sleep in. Your teachers hopefully will be very accommodating, and if not, there's definitely the Disability Resource Center in college. They will definitely back you up, get accommodations if you need to, whether if it's, at work or if it's for school. Those definitely help me a lot, especially with my dietary restrictions. I would just say, like, believe in yourself, because I know how difficult it is, especially when you're looking for a diagnosis, to start doubting yourself because people are telling you that it's not real. But you're your best. You are your best. You know yourself the best.
Right.
So surround yourself with people who also know you, and definitely build a strong network, whether it's just you, a parent, a guardian, a friend, your family. Surround yourself with that good energy, and you got this. I know how difficult it is. You got this.
Absolutely. And avoid the people, if a doctor tells you it's in your head, just go to another doctor, right?
Exactly.
So you find the ones that take you seriously because you believe you and
Exactly.
you got this. And also be kind to yourself. You will get through. It's not a race. And I mean, it's Lauren had said to me, and again, I'm about 30 years older than you guys, but I still use her advice. She's like, if you have to take a nap, take a nap, right? It's just going to make you more productive later. So I echo this. You got this, and you are evidence of, look at this, you're a successful college student, not only academically, but you listed your activities to me later. I was so impressed. And you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, all while managing a chronic illness. So you are amazing, and I'm hoping that it will inspire others out there that you can do this. It might take a little more time, but you got